For page 9, we had 2 pre-cuts. One was a 5 3/4 by 12-inch pocket, and we had a 3 3/4 by 12-inch pocket. Let's just set those off to the side, and let's grab the paper we want to work with. So in your Ciao Bella, you will find this print on the back. It looks like this. So for this cut, because I do not want to cut on her, and if we do a regular cut, it's going to cut her out. So we are going to measure over 8 inches and cut. Okay, set her off to the side. What you have left is this. Measure over 8 1/4 inches and cut. For this, you can grab some of your 65-pound paper for this. And what you're going to need and look in your scraps is you're going to need a piece that is at least, let's start with 4 3/4 by 8 1/4. Grab a piece of your score tape, and I'm going to use my 3/4 for this, I think. And you'll want to put it on the black, not on this. And you will lay it on one side. What we're doing is conserving paper and building on. And we don't really need to worry about this being black over here because we can piece it back together. Okay, so I have this piece. You're definitely going to want to put this on something with a straight edge. So I'll grab this out. Okay, you lay down your piece, and this one's going to go underneath, straight up against, and that should be good. And just lay it down over, and you'll burnish that down. Okay. So now that you have it like this, you can measure over 10 1/4 inches and cut. In your reserves, you will find this long piece that has the clocks. And it's not quite long enough for our sheet. It's actually maybe 1 1/4 inches wide, and it's about 7 7/8 or so long. So if you were to place this down, you're going to be short, but it doesn't matter because our pocket's going to cover that. So that's the first piece. Second piece is this, and on the back it has that, and it's the same thing. Nope, actually this is a perfect fit, top and bottom. So the first thing we're going to want to do is apply glue, and make sure you get those edges down in there. And you're going to place this all the way over the black cardstock so that it's even. And then what you'll have is a black piece down the middle like that. So let's first do that. I've got mine down and I burnished it. This piece on the clocks, we're going to make sure we get around the back side by the edges of that, and then we're going to come all the way to the top, and we will just butt that right up against the green paper, and it will overlap over there, and we'll make sure we burnish that down. And again, don't worry about this, it gets covered. I've got mine down. Now let's grab our 5 3/4 by 12-inch pocket, and let's grab our 1/4 inch score tape, and we're going to lay that down across the bottom and mount this like we would any other pocket. Make sure I have overhang and press out. And then all we're going to do is wrap our flaps to the back and burnish them down, of course, the edges, it helps. And then we will tack those down. If you are trim punch a piece to go across and wrap your flaps around the back side. And you'll want to do 2 of those. Die cutters. I'm going to show you what I'm using, and I'll be placing mine after the paper. But in your classic borders, you will have 3 brackets. First, it's this one. And then there's this one that actually goes and fits the top. And then there's the straight line curve that goes underneath to cut out the trim. So that is what I'm using. Now, I piggybacked mine, and when you have this, when your first cut should be centered, okay? Now, when you come back and around, what you'll want to do, and I'm going to just kind of put this down here, is first start with the curved one and match it up to the line. If you were to wiggle it around, you can catch that line that's left on the die plate. And then I go and I put these down. And I get a better result. And we'll want to do 2 of these, because how this is going to play is going to go over like this. And I think it looks really good. So you'll want to do 2 of those. If you don't like piggybacking, you can always use your regal borders or a straight across, and then cut off to the side so you have flaps to go around. So I'm going to get my second one ready, and then we're going to find our paper. Quick tip for die cutters: when you don't quite get your bottom smooth piece done and you're a little bit off, that is okay, because it's sometimes very hard to line up. I just trim it just like this, and then it's done. Okay, so I got my 2 pieces here, and I'll get the rest of my little die cut little things out of there. Let's get our paper. In your reserves, you will find this long piece, 12 inches. On the back, it is this. So I'm going to use probably this side, the more solid colored, but the beauty of this is we don't have to have it all the way long, because our pocket that goes over is going to cover this. Let's do this the same way. It's not going to make a difference at this point. Measure over 10 1/4 inches and cut. Apply glue to this side and bring that up. You can leave yourself a little bit of a black border up there and glue that down and burnish it down. Die cutters, it is time to glue this down. So when I glue this down, pretty much right under the center, it's going to be center here, but this lip, starting with right here, is going to be glued. So we'll have to get some from this point over, glue and glue, and then we'll wrap our edges. I've got mine down. Everyone, now we're on the same page together. Let's grab our 3 1/4 or 3 3/4 by 12-inch pocket. Grab our 1/4 inch score tape and line it on the bottom of this. Make sure you burnish it down really good. And we're going to mount this pocket like we've been doing the others. Pushing out, and definitely burnish. Flip it over, and we will wrap and glue down these flaps. In your reserves, you will find this very long piece, and on the back it looks like this. So we're going to center this. We'll bring it all the way down to the bottom, centering it as best we can anyway. And we're going to measure to fit. And we will trim it. And then what we're going to do is, people who paper punched, get your trim on there and wrap your edges first. And then you'll bring this to the bottom and glue it down. Okay, die cutters, if you're using this, we're still on the same page here with everybody else. We're going to apply glue to this, and we are going to bring that all the way to the bottom and glue that down. In your reserves, grab this out. On the back, it is green, and that's what we're wanting. So what you'll want to do is put this on your paper cutter, and notice that they have all this excess white. Put this on your cutter and cut straight down, and I'll show you what mine looks like. So this was once here, and now it is off. So we're going to flip it over to the green because there's some green up in here. Or you can use the lighter if you prefer. I'm going to use the green. And I'm just going to measure to fit. And then we will glue that down. Die cutters, it is now time to apply glue and line it up with this and glue that down. Wrap your flaps behind the back, die cutters. Oops, my camera's moving around here. Alright, so this is the part that she's going to go right here, and it's going to look really good. So I am going to cut out, first of all, let's reserve this so it's a nice piece. What I want you to do is take your pencil, make a pencil mark just above her hat, put it on your paper cutter, and cut. We're going to cut out and around her, coming up and around and down here. I am going to cut, oh, actually, yeah, I am going to cut out the suitcase. I'll show you what mine looks like. So here is mine. And what I'm going to do is mount this to black cardstock, and you can use your 65 pound if you'd like. And then we're going to cut out and around. Here is my piece. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to place her about right here, leaving a little space. Now I'm going to place glue back underneath here, just on the bottom. And then I'm going to place glue right where her chin and her neck meet under that trim. So first things first, and then her chin, and neck. So I'm going to stick something back behind here, just in case. So get that. Clean up any glue that seeps out. And that looks good to me. Let's see how that works. What do I have here? So let's give it a try. I'm not sure if this is narrow enough. It's for a small picture mat. You can slide something back behind like that, or just a larger one. You can use a larger one if you wanted and slant it, but you know, whatever it is that you want to do. And that looks cool too if you had a picture on there. Okay, let's do one. Let's see, what size do I have here? I have a 2.5 wide by about 3 3/8 inch this way. So cut on your 65 pound and you're out of your scraps, that size. In your reserves, you're going to find this piece, a square. On the back, it's going to look like this. Okay, let's just measure to fit that baby, leaving a little black border. I'm going to trim that way, and then I'll trim that way, and then I'll glue that down. That looks good. Or you can put it right back behind her, whichever it is you like. That won't work on that side, but I like that. A tag would look good there too. This page is complete. Let's flip it over, do our score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on either side, and place this in our book. Page 9 is complete. We are going on to page 10. In your reserves, though, you will find a cutoff tag. On the back, it looks like this, and it's exactly this size. You just need to cut out and around there. I inked around the edges of that, and guess what? That fits perfect. Right back there. Okay, page 10, here we come. Page 10. In your paper pack of the Ciao Bella, you'll find this. On the back, it is the stripes. Our cuts are going to be very different on this one. You're going to need your ruler and your pencil. So from the top of your paper, measure down 6 inches and place a pencil mark. Okay. Over here, I want you to measure in this way from the side. Measure in 2 3/4 of an inch and make a pencil mark. So what we're going to do is put this on our paper cutter. We're going to cut here, and if you need to make a line, and you'll want to make sure you're straight, you're going to cut this way. You'll stop here, and then you will cut up. So this part does not get cut. This part does not get cut. And I'm going to show you mine. This is what your leftover piece should look like. And this is going to be our base piece. So let's grab some 65-pound paper. And to make it real simple, just cut a piece that is 8 1/4 inch by 10 1/4 inch. It'll make our life much easier than matching up. So this is actually the size that we need to have for this. So what we're going to do is first apply glue to our base sheet, and we will place it right over the black cardstock, matching up. And we'll place it to the right. We'll go over our pre-cuts in just a moment. Let's just get started with this. Let's go over our pre-cuts. Page 10 had one pre-cut, and it was a 6 by 6 1/8 inch, called a fold out. We laid this so we were 6 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch. And that was it. Okay, let's get this going here. We will start with what we need to do. You're going to want to keep this piece handy. We'll be getting into it. Now in your Ciao Bella paper pack, you will find this print. And on the back, it looks like this. So all we're going to do is turn it so our stripes are this way, measure over 2 3/8 inch, and cut. This is what you should have. Just stick that right on down. We'll cut it up in a minute. This piece, you will find it in your reserves. It is 8 1/4 inches, I believe. It is 8 1/4 inches, and the width is about 1 3/4 inches. On the back, it looks like this. All we're going to do is take this piece and we're going to butt it right on up next to this piece. We'll measure to fit. So I have this butted up against this. I'll pull it down so I can see where the black cardstock is. But I'm going to cut it just so it's even with the edge of my black cardstock. So once you do that, you can trim it up, but don't glue it down yet. Grab this piece, measure over 10 1/4 inches, and cut. This piece gets glued down first, so we'll make sure we get the edges really good. We're going to place that at the bottom of our paper. It will overlap slightly onto this one. And mine has this little at the bottom, and I'll put that at the bottom. But we'll just place that side to side, make sure, and definitely burnish that down. Now what you can do is apply glue to this side and make sure you butt that up right on next to the green and glue that down. Perfect. Let's get our fold out, and let's fold on those score lines and use our tool to burnish on those score lines. Okay, so you have an outside score line and an inside. On the outside one, we're going to pinch, and we're going to bring that so it is even with the bottom of our paper. We'll have that flap around the back. Once you have it in place, pinch and hold it. Don't let it get away from you. And we'll glue that down, that hinge. Okay. Make sure you didn't get any glue seeping out. If you did, clean it up. Okay, now you can push back against the other hinge. Okay, for this piece, let's be safe and measure over 4 3/4 inch and cut. So we're going to cut out and around this guy. We are going to, once we have him cut out, we want to mount him to 80-pound cardstock. And then once we get that done, glued down to that, and we cut out and around, I'll show you what else we're going to do. I'm going to set this off to the side for a moment. Make sure that your glue is dried. And I'm going to tell you first before I do it. I'm going to cut with my craft knife from about here and follow his hand around his knuckles all the way to here. And that will allow me to slide a sentiment, a tag, something behind his wrist. So I'm going to do mine really quick. You'll want a fresh blade. Okay, so now he should be able to have his hand out a little bit. Don't force it out. But the whole idea is to be able to slide something in there. Okay, let's just set him off to the side for now. We're good with the cutting mat being put away. Now let's cut for this, because then that's where he belongs. You have this piece, and I don't want to cut into this. So if we measure over 4 1/2 inches and cut, we should be able to retain that. We will just put that off to the side. This piece, flip it over. We're going to apply glue, and that should be a good fit with giving you a border top and bottom. You'll leave yourself a border over here, and we'll glue that down. In your reserves, you will find this long piece. On the back, it looks like this. Measure over 6 inches and cut. Apply glue to this side and glue that down. And hopefully that will match up with the side of this, at least close to. And you'll have a black border off to the side. It's time to glue this dude down. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to put a band of glue right at the bottom. Okay, I'm only going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch over here of this paper to show. And I want it here, but I only want to put a little line over here. That's it. So I'm going to make sure I'm at the bottom. And the only reason why is it helps frame him. And pushing him over that far will still give you enough room to get photo mats back behind there. So let's give it a shot. Let's try this out. What do I got? Here. He's still drying. But you can get a good sized picture mat in there. You can get few. Okay. So let's find something for just to tuck in there. In the Ciao Bella, in your cutouts, we have the tag page. On the back, it looks like this. We're just going to come in from the side and cut out the clock tag. And we'll ink around the edges. I think a picture mat would be better for him to hold on to. Oh, I like that sticking out there. Let's see. So, slide that in. That looks cool too. I'm going to slide that back up and out. Let's do a small picture mat for right here. Or a sentiment, whatever I find. Sentiment that I want is anything one man can imagine, other men can make real. I think we'll take that little quote sentiment out. Kind of a nice touch. We'll do that. And you can also do a little picture mat too. But for now, let's just do this. Let's see how it looks. And then we'll mount it to 65-pound cardstock and cut out and around. here is mine. Now, perfect. I like that. He can hold little signs, sentiments, and he can also hold little teeny photo mats back behind there as well. So you're just not going to be able to load him up. And that's why we use the 80-pound cardstock, is because it's tougher than the 65. But for now, sticking it back there. Let's get to this. You know, one thing is remember we have one of these back in our reserves still. I want to use this. Now mine has a little hook down here from my paper when I was cutting out around something. I'm going to even this up, and you should have something similar. Maybe yours doesn't have any cutout on it. But this isn't quite long enough, but I want to give this page a little more dimension with something other. So I'm going to apply glue, and it may take you a moment to find this in your reserves. And I'll center that top to bottom, leaving my paper showing and side to side, and glue that down. In your reserves, you should have a piece like this. On the back, it looks like this. And I think there's only one of them, so it's easy to spot. It's about 4 by 6. So what we're going to do is turn it to look like this. We're going to measure over 5 7/8 inch and cut. Verify that you are fitting, leaving yourself a black border, top and bottom, and the same amount from that outer score line in. And then just glue that down. In your reserves, you will find this. It matches that skinny piece. This is about 7/8 inch wide by about 6 1/4 inch tall. We'll measure over 5 7/8 inch and cut. We're going to apply glue, and when you glue this down, you're going to leave yourself black in between this and that. So let's do that. On your Ciao Bella cutout sheet, let's cut out and around this. And then we're going to ink around the edges, and we'll mount that to 65-pound cardstock and cut out around that. I have mine done. So what I'm going to do is flip this over. I'm going to come up and glue down to the side. So the glue is actually behind this, only up so far. And then I'm going to place this along the side there. And that you can either choose to use it as a side pocket, or you can slide your photo back behind there. And this is my scratch paper, but you can put your photo back behind there to frame it. So you'd have a thing, or just use it as a little pocket. Okay, grab this. This says next train platform. We're going to fussy cut around. You don't have to get real detailed here, okay? So when I cut it, I'm going to cut out around this, come over here, and over there, and then we can ink around it. I will show you mine, but my first cut is going to be straight underneath the train to release that, so I can put that back in my reserves. We'll make a great picture mat. Same thing up here, straight across. Okay, now I'm going to cut out and around, and I'll show you mine. So I wanted to show you my fussy cutting. As you can see, I left a lot of the green around because this is very thin, even though I'm going to be mounting this to cardstock. And I think we'll mount this to 80-pound cardstock. And I don't think I'm going to ink around mine after all. But look in your reserves for some 80-pound cardstock. We will apply glue to it. We'll glue this down, and then we will cut out and around it. And you can leave a black frame around it if you like. I might do that. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. It'll look good. Just make sure you burnish down. So we're going to grab our 3D Zots, and we just want to puff this up a little bit. I don't need that many. And then I got to wash my hands. So over here, I'm going to place one. Now, if you find that it's too wide, it comes over the side. You have to fix that. Squeeze it together as best you can. All right. So the next one is, for instance, right here. I'm going to place this down, and then I am going to try to squeeze this. It's easier to use this little plastic to help because it's sticky. Okay. Now the next one is kind of hard. It is this. So I'm going to try and roll mine over first while it's on this. Hello. Now I'm going to do that. And I'll place it down, and then if I need to add a little glue, I will, just to get it in there. Okay, so I have these that are going to pop out here. Now one thing is I want to dimensionalize up here too, and that's quite simple. Oh, come here. And I'll place it at the top. So now I still can slide things underneath, and I'm just going to place that at the edge, and we definitely have to make sure that that zot doesn't slip, come out from the sides there. And you can still slip something, a photograph, back behind and have the clock. Just feel it, make sure it isn't sticky. If you can feel sticky, you've got to push it underneath. So this is our page, and this one's designed just to put photographs or whatever you would like. Page 10 is complete. Let's flip it over, score tape around the back side like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on either side. Now one thing we did not do with this is put a magnet. And, matter of fact, let's add one. And you can do this after the fact on a lot of different things that you do. So for this, I'm going to slide a magnet back underneath, probably right back underneath at the bottom down here, so that I can still slide something down. So I'm going to put the sticky side down. I'm just going to lift this up and slide it back behind. And nobody will be able to see that. Now I'm going to make sure that this is pushed over flat, and I'll get a mate to that. Wherever it finds it, not sure. Hello, there it is. So now I'll just place it, and then I can do my score tape. So I know it was around here somewhere. Here it is. There we go. So score tape around the outside, one down the middle, one on either side, and let's plant this in our book. And let's take a look. So here's our page 9 and 10, side by side. It looks good. We are now on to page 11. Page 11's pre-cuts. So what we did was we cut 4 pieces that were 4 1/8 by 12 inch. We labeled them fold-outs, and we will be connecting these and then scoring them together. And we'll connect them together, of course. Okay, so what we had here, and I forgot to label these, it looks like. We had 1 3/4 by 6 1/2, and we labeled those bands. We placed each one of these on our scoring board. We scored at 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch on both. I'm going to be using the straight edge of my paper cutter for this. It's easier because it's open on each side. So we're going to grab 2 of them. And we're going to grab our 1/4 inch score tape. And I'm going to lay one piece down on the edge there. I'm going to remove the score tape backing there. Okay, and I have my other one, so I'm just going to place that down, make sure that it's straight up against, and this one's going to come over. Hopefully I got that on straight. If not, I will doctor it up by trimming. So there is one. We're going to do the same exact thing for this one. Laying score tape on one side. We will burnish, clip off any overhang, and then I'm going to, it's easier for me to come in on this side, and I'm just going to overlap them and burnish. So we have 2 of these. Perfect. I'm going to move this out of the way. Let's grab our scoring board. Here's my first one, and I'm just going to lay this down. At a 1/2 inch, I'm going to score, and at 5/8 inch, I'm going to score. Next, at 6 5/8 inch, we're going to score. And after we score that one, that's where we're going to fold it back, and we're going to burnish it. So it's nice and crisp over there. Okay, move this over until it's sitting up. This part's going up. Okay, so mine pushed all the way back against here. It's going to be a little bit different now. I want 6 1/8 inch. Okay, let's fold that up and over, and we will burnish. Now we're going to push this all the way up flush against the side. Hold it there so it doesn't slip. Now I can do 6 1/8. Okay, so let's do the folding the way that we need to do. So we will fold back on the ones here at the 1/2 inch and the 5/8, and we'll burnish. Okay, so with the flap is off to the back now, this one comes this way, then it's going to come back this way, so if you need to crease it the other way, do so. Okay, and then this one folds back on top. And try to match up your top and your bottom there. And use your tool to help you along. So this is what you should have. Let's do the other one together. 1/2 inch and 5/8. We're going to go to 6 5/8. And then we're going to fold this up, and we'll burnish it so we have a nice crease there. We'll pull it back up to the side. We will go 6 1/8. We will fold again. And once it's back and flush, we're going to hold it in place so we can get that out of our way. And go 6 1/8. And we're going to fold this together. Our 1/2 inch and 5/8 we will fold, and of course we're going to use our tool to help us. Okay, so that is towards the back. This one comes over the top. This one comes back this way. And then this one comes over the top. So here are our 2. We can now set these off to the side until it's time to use them. In your Ciao Bella paper pack, you will find this cool page. On the back, it looks like that. We're going to turn it so we're looking at it sideways, measure over 8 1/4 inches, and cut. Now we're just going to measure over 10 1/4 inches and cut. Grab one of your fold-outs. So the way we folded it was our flap is going back and it just goes back and forth. Now this one I do want to pull back the other way. It's going to make things much easier for us, I decided. So that one just kind of tucks back behind. Alright, so you have back here Here's your hinge, outside and inside. On that outside one, we're going to attach this. Now you have to make sure that you are lined up with the top of your paper. Okay, so once you have it where it's supposed to be, and I think that's good for me, I'm going to pinch and hold it here. I'm going to flip this over, time to glue down this fold out. Okay, now I can push this back on that so that I am straight on the sides. And that just goes back down, and I'm going to flip that under. So there is our first one. We're going to do the same thing with this. I have an outside and an inside. On that outside one, this is where you're going to want to hold this shut. Make sure that you are even. And that's where we're going to hook right up underneath and line up. It should be a nice, perfect fit. Our paper is 8 1/4 inches. These are each 4 1/8. So that should be perfect. So once you have it in place, verify you're straight there. We're going to pinch, turn it over, and we are going to glue down those flaps. And they should be side to side there on the back side. Okay, now I'm going to push back on this so that it is flush on the side, and then I can just bring this over, and it will overlap your hinge. And once we get our paper on there and we burnish it down a little more, it will be a little more manageable. All right, for these are bands. Let's fold on those score lines. And looking at your thing like this, my score lines are over here. Inside one and an outside. On that outside one, we're going to hook it back behind this side and try to center that in the middle of this piece. Once you have it in place, we'll glue it down. And we're going to do the same with the other hinge. And once this is in our book and we have our magnets down, it'll be a lot more manageable. Let's do our second one. But until it is mounted, it's not going to be. Okay, inside score line, outside. Hook it back behind, try to be even there in the center of your page as best you can. And then we will glue it down, this little hinge. Push that back, open up. If you see any glue in there, take care of it. Same in here. So anytime you do a fold out, you definitely need to do that. Let's grab some magnets. We're going to place it on this side first. Thing off, and I'm going to bring it in probably about maybe 3/4 inch in. Let's find some paper for here so that we can get it, our magnet mates over here. I found a couple pieces of scratch. This one in my reserves, and on the back it looks like this. This is approximately 2 inches wide by about 6 inches long. So the first thing that I want to do, looking at it like this, is I'm going to measure over 1 5/8 inch and cut. Next, measure over 5 5/8 inch and cut. So before you glue this down, verify you're going to fit. And you can use any side you want. That's kind of cool, something different. I'm going to have it so that's up. But make sure that you get around your magnet there. So I'll apply glue to this side and I will place it. Perfect. And I'm going to burnish that down. On this piece, you'll find it in your reserves. And you can use this side or this side. I'll probably have this side up on this. Anyway, I'm going to measure over 1 5/8 inch and cut. Next, we'll measure over 5 5/8 inch and cut. And I'm going to apply glue to this side, and I will glue that down. Okay, find the mates now. Perfect. If you are not using these, if you're using something where you have to apply glue, the trick on that, and I think I showed that, was you just put a dab in the middle. And I'll do it on these. It makes no difference whether I have the adhesive here or not. So you'll just place your glue in the middle. Again, make sure you are straight. And you will bring this over and press. And now you can lift. In your paper pack, you will find this. This is actually the back side to the cover. But when we cut this, we are going to cut this the same way so we have the same leftovers. So we'll look at it like this. Measure over 3 7/8 inch and cut. Measure over again 3 7/8 inch and cut. So these are the two pieces that I have. If you have any of that glue residue from the paper pack, you can just trim that off. We're going to double these up though. Measure over 5 3/4 inch and cut. Measure over again 5 3/4 inch and cut. Here are all your pieces, and the one that you want is, you want this one. We'll apply glue and glue that down. And then there is this one. Looks like this. On the back there's nothing on it. Like some of these we have trim. This one does not. We're going to apply glue and glue that down, making sure our borders are even. I got mine down. Make sure you still latch, and you should. Let's find the paper for here, and then we'll move on to these. You'll have this in your reserves on the back. It looks like this. So we'll make sure we have the same leftovers. Measure over 5 5/8 inch and cut. This is what you should have. Let's measure over 1 5/8 inch and cut. Measure over again 1 5/8 inch and cut. Apply glue and glue these down. In your reserves, you should have this piece on the back. It looks like this. All we're going to do is cut out and around this piece, and then we'll ink around the edges. Mounted to 65-pound black cardstock, cut out and around it. This is going to place right in the middle, just like that. So what I want to do so that I can utilize some of this is down here I am just going to go with glue. And back here you can place a photo. And just make sure you have enough on there, so down below. In your reserves you will find this print on the back. It has the clock. So you can do this either way. You can have this side up or this side. So for me, I'm going to have this side. I'm just going to turn it over so it's sideways like that. I'm going to tuck it down in there comfortably. Now I'm going to measure to fit. So I'll chop this way first. Once I have that, then I'll trim it this way. And then I'll glue it down. I have mine down. Well, it kind of looks like this. Let's flip these open. Let's grab these two that we had set off to the side. And flip it all the way open. And this one that goes like this will be for the bottom. Make sure you fit. Apply glue and glue that down. And then this one will go right up here. Mine are down. Now for the rest of these, it's going to be done on solid colored cardstock. So I have my craft and I have my dark brown. So what you're going to want to do for each one of these, except for this one, is cut pieces that are 5 3/4 by 3 7/8. So for me, I'm going to mix and match some of these with my brown and my craft. So let's take a moment and see how many we need, and then we'll just glue them down. And for the last one, we'll just measure that and place our solid colored cardstock. I have mine all done, and it's definitely time to wash my hands again. So what I did was I used, you don't have to alternate in colored cardstock. If all you have is craft, that's fine. I just ended up alternating around. Now for this piece here, I cut a piece that was 4.5 inches by 3 7/8. And again, I alternated like so. And on the back side, I have those done too. So don't forget those back here. So lots of places for pictures in here. So I'm going to take a moment and show you what I'm going to do to kind of dress up the inside so it's not so plain. On your Ciao Bella sheet, you have some of this stuff. So let's start off with fussy cutting around these two pieces. Let's cut out this clock, and let's cut out these, and we'll ink around the edges of all of them. So let's start with a couple of these. I'm still cutting out, but I wanted to show you. You can put them on the side, whatever, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to fold this in half, and I'll use my tool to burnish that down. Okay, I am going to ink around the edges of this, just real quick. And also right here. Let's start with this one. So all this is going to be is something that you can open up and write in. So let's see what I want to do. Right here. I'll put this one right here, and I want to be able to slip a photo back behind still, so I'm just going to go and put some glue right here. And I'm going to stick this off at an angle. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Open it up, ink around those edges. You can go heavy, you can go light, it's whatever you like to do. Or if you don't like inking at all, just bypass it altogether. So there's one. I think I'll close this one up on the top, and I'll put one there. Do the same thing, and I'll do the same thing with the glue, putting it off at an angle. Get up any glue that seeps out there. Alright, so these I'm not going to back with black cardstock, because once I get the picture down, then I can glue it the rest of the way down. So for this, it's just a very fine line so that I can still get a picture in there, and I'll go on to the black cardstock a little bit, so that will help. And I'll go up over here and do the same thing. Okay, got those. I want to go with this here, and this is the same thing where you're going to glue down some, and then when you get your picture back behind, you'll glue down the rest. So let's get down below here and just a dab on this little notch, and that way you can still get stuff back behind. That's good enough for me. So I'm just going to close all this back up. Okay. See this tag right here? Let's cut out and around it. And this will just give you an idea on placing things. And you definitely do not have to keep it the way I show you. We'll ink around those edges. Stick it right in there. Right back behind. Or you can turn it around and stick it like that. It's up to you. Okay, this page is complete. Let's do our score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle, and we're going to go 2 on either side. And then we're going to mount that in our book. We are now on to our final page, page 12. our final page, page 12. Let's go over our pre-cuts. So with 65-pound cardstock, we cut 3 pieces that were 3.5 by 6 inches. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 3.5 across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch. Then we turned it, so we were 6 inches across. We scored it a 1/2 inch and 5.5 inches. And we did that on all 3 of these. Next, what we did was we grabbed a 4-inch by 12-inch piece. We called it folder. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 12 inches across. We scored it at 6 inches. And we can fold on those score lines right now. Make sure you're matching up your sides and burnish that. And we'll set that off to the side. We had a 3 5/8 by 6 3/4 inch piece. We labeled it pocket. Now if you run out of your 80-pound on these pockets, you can use 65-pound. There was no scoring on this. Next, we cut a 6.5 inch by 8 5/8 inch. We labeled it top flip. And there was only one of those. We placed this on our scoring board. And what we did was we scored at a 1/2 inch and we scored it at 11/16 inch. And we labeled that top flip. We had a 6.5 by 6.5 piece. We called that the bottom flip. We laid it across at 6.5. We scored this at a 1/2 inch and 11/16 inch. And we called that bottom flip. The next piece that we did was a 5 3/4 inch by 8 1/4 inch. We called it a fold out. We placed it so we were 5 3/4 across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and we scored this at 3/8 inch. So we had 3/8 inch and a 1/2 inch. So that one was a little bit different. Now the last piece that we had was a 3 3/4 inch by 11 1/4 inch. We called it a folder. And we laid this across. And what we did was we scored it 5 5/8 inch. And on this one, we can go ahead and fold it now and burnish and set this off to the side. In your paper pack, you will locate this one. And on the back, it looks like this. Let's turn that. And we're gonna measure over, let's see, 8 1/4 inches and cut. All right, let's turn it upside down here so that our blue border is over here. Measure over 10 1/4 inches and cut. And here is our base decorative page. We're going to start with our 65-pound cardstock. And those are our pockets. So let me locate those and we'll all stay together. And what we're going to do is fold on all the score lines. And you'll want to use your tool to help you along. So let's take a moment to do that. Once we fold on all our score lines, we're going to do what we did before. You see the little square? We're just going to clip out those pieces. And we'll do this on each one of ours. Once you've done that to each one, we're going to fold in the sides. And we've done this before. And we're going to apply our glue down here. And it looks like I'm getting all clogged up. And then once you have your glue in the corners, we will pull this up and burnish it down. Okay, next step, we're going to place our score tape on there, and then we'll go to the top and we will clip at an angle on all of these. Okay, let's grab our sheet here. Okay, you're going to need your ruler and your pencil. From the top, I want you to measure down 1 3/8 inch and make a pencil mark. That is where our first one gets placed. So once our first one, and we're just going to leave maybe 1/8 of an inch of our decorative cardstock showing over there. So once we get the first one, then what we're going to do is start laying these. Okay? And I'll help you with placing these in the proper place. So let's do our first one together. And we will just place that right where that is. Try to stay straight. And we'll burnish. Grab your ruler, measure down from the top of that pocket about 1 7/8 inch. There you know where this will go, and then you can just lay that, line it up with your sides just until you don't see that pencil mark anymore. Okay, and you definitely do not have to be perfect all the time, so just one of those things. Okay, the next line down from this pocket will measure down 1 7/8 inch and make a pencil line. That is where the last one gets placed. And for this, our decorative paper is just going to sit up on the top there. So I'll place that one, make sure I'm lined up with the sides, and place it. And there we have our 3-tier pocket. Let's get some things ready. You should have this in your reserves. And on the back it looks like this. What I want you to do, and you're still attached down here, is where the white meets the brown, we're going to cut all the way down. You're going to need 2 of the pieces. You're going to need this. And you're going to need this. Now let's start with this one. Put this on your paper cutter and cut all the way around, leaving that brown border. Grab your 3 3/4 by 11 1/4 folder. And this is where this one is going to place. So just center that top to bottom, side to side, and glue that down. Here is mine. I'm going to set that off to the side. It's time for this one. Let's grab our other folder, the 4 by 12. Now this one, what we're going to do is place it down. So we're going to try to center this side to side. I'm going to leave some of my black showing so I can see where the edge of my paper is there. And I'm going to make a mark here and make a mark here, so that when I do cut it, it'll still leave me a black border. So my first cut will be this and then this. Now all you want to do is just verify side to side you've got a black border. Okay, so we're going to lay this back down on top, and what we're now going to try to do is center, try to get this even by measuring a fit going across this way the best we can. So now that I've made my mark here and here to fit the top, the height of this, I'm going to trim that off, and then I'm going to verify that it fits. And it fits. If you need to do a little more trimming, do so. So I'm going to apply glue to that, and I'm just going to center that and glue it down. And there it is. So now I'm going to set that off to the side. Let's get our paper. In your reserves, you should have this piece on the back. It looks like this. So what we're going to end up doing on this is the first thing we want to do for this bottom one is lay it down. When you lay it down and leave yourself a black border here, you will notice you'll have a black border over here. So this is like the perfect size for this, right? To just cut right in between those. And I'm going to do that first. And then what I'm going to do is come over to here. And you're going to, once you have that cut, just make sure it's the same size and we will cut. So I'll show you mine. Your leftover, put in your reserves. Okay, for the bottom one, we're going to use this one. And I'm going to center this, leaving a black border at the top of my pocket, side to side. And we'll come down here to the very bottom where to match up with the black cardstock of the pocket. Make a pencil mark and trim. If you are trim punching, what you will want to do is punch a trim border, and you'll probably want to use a 1/2 inch or so. You can use the larger one though, and you'll do it so that it goes side to side. And then you'll glue that down first, and then you will glue this piece down on top of it. Those of us that are die cutting, I'm going to show you first what I'm going to use, and then you can determine if you want to die cut a trim first and cut it and just lay it. In the Elegant Pocket Accents, I am after this die, and you have the bracket that fits around it to cut it out. I'm going to die cut this 3 times, and when it's done, they're going to lay like this on each of the pockets. So if you are trim punching, you can go ahead and get those ready to go. So if you don't have this die or it's not what you want, then use your own decorative die. So you can go on top or you can go underneath, any way you want to do. And we're going to glue that down now. So I've got all mine die cut out. So die cutters, if you're using the same, you'll want to center that side to side, and you'll maneuver it over, and then you can clip off anything that overhangs, unless it will fit on your page by wrapping it over, but it might not. So let's get that done. Okay, there is our first one. This piece. So this piece, we're going to go right up to the top. I'm going to turn my paper sideways. It's easier for me to see. So, and I'm going to bring it over. Of course, I want a little bit of a black lip. And I'm going to come right down to where the top of that pocket is. And I'm going to cut. You should have this left. And all you're going to do here is put this piece that you just cut for this. You're going to put this piece right up next to it, measure it, trim it so it's the same. Okay, then you just glue down your pieces. And then, if of course you have your trim down if you're punching, but then you'll place these down. And here are our 3-tier pockets. And this one you can just slip right in, and you can fill this with your solid colored cardstock, and that looks good. Let's grab our 5 3/4 by 8 1/4 fold out. And we're just going to fold on those score lines and use our tool to burnish down. We're going to hook this onto the right. So writing may be upside down at this point. You have an inside and an outside score line. Let's pinch on the outside one. And let's hook that on, matching it up with top and bottom. Once you have it in place, pinch to hold it in place and tack it down. Okay, I'm going to open mine up. I may have got some there. Well, we're going to start on the inside here. You should have this sheet, and it's the back piece. So we'll just look at it like this. Measure over 5 inches and cut. Looking at it like this, measure over 8 inches and cut. Don't glue it down, but just verify it's going to fit in there. Give you a frame, and mine does. Let's grab our pocket. And that was our 3 5/8 by 6 3/4 inch. Grab our score tape, and we're going to lay it at the bottom. Whoops. We'll burnish it down, and we will mount this pocket like we have been on previous pages. And we'll just make sure we have overhang, and then we'll just wrap our flaps around the back. Before we get our paper, let's lay down our trim. So if you are trim punching, you'll cut a trim piece that you can wrap around to the back side. Die cutters, if you're using whatever you want to use, do that. I am going to be using something a little bit different. Die cutters. If you want to do the same that I am doing, I'm in the Floor Borders Basic. And the one I used is this. Either one's going to work for you. All we're looking is for this hump here. And when you do this, you do have to use the other little matching die that comes in there and matches up below, so you can get that out. So all I'm going to do is I'll be placing this side to side so it comes up and around like this. And I think it looks good. So I am going to cut mine. Mine will not wrap around on this side, but it will wrap on this side. I will place this after we get our paper on. In your reserves, you will find this. On the back, it looks like this. We'll just measure to fit. So if you were to place this over to your left, this should be centered pretty much in the middle. You may want to leave yourself just a little black border over there. And so I'm just going to measure to fit, so I will cut this way. Once you get that, and you place that down, leave yourself a little black border there. Come down here, place a pencil mark at the bottom of your pocket, and trim. Those of you that are adding your dies trim after the fact, let's everybody first glue this down, and then you can place this down and wrap your piece around the back. As soon as I get mine down, I will show it to you. I have mine down, so now everyone, let's apply glue and glue that down. Let's close that up. We're ready to get our paper for this. Your reserves, you will find this piece. So this is about 12 inches wide. We're going to measure over 5 inches and cut. Let's turn that, measure over 8 inches and cut. Apply glue to this side, and let's glue that down, centering it. Grab your 6.5 by 6.5 flip. Let's fold on the score lines and we'll burnish, and then we're going to attach this. Okay, we're going to come up and underneath and try to center that side to side. Once you have it where it needs to be, pinch and hold it. Now, let's just glue this flap down. Let's see, that's good. That looks good. Okay, the next one is the 6.5 by 8 5/8 flip. Let's fold on those score lines. So once you have it folded, it's easier to get the top to match up. There's a inside and an outside score line here. Pinch on the outside, hook it back behind. Make sure you are even side to side with your other one. And once you are, you're going to pinch and hold that baby down so it does not get away from you. And then we will glue our hinge down. Okay. Now we can just push right on up there. And this is what we have. We have a couple magnets left. let's grab them. Okay, first one is going to be on the larger one, and we're going to come in about, say, 3/4 of an inch. Plant it somewhere in the middle there. Grab this back out of your reserves, and we're looking at it like this. Measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. Now measure over 7 5/8 inch and cut. Let's verify. Place it down, and you should be a good fit and well above the score line down here. Let's apply glue and glue that down. Okay, got that down. Let's grab the mate to that. And I'm going to dab a little drop of glue in the middle so I know where it's supposed to hit, the middle of it. And I'm going to bring this down, and if you get it on crooked, this is where you can correct yourself by matching up. And press. So that is where it is supposed to go. Right there. Let's get our paper for this. In your reserves, you should have a piece like this. Measure over 6 1/4 inch and cut. Verify you are going to fit side by side. And I do. So we're 6 1/4 this way. Let's turn this and measure over 5 5/8 and cut. Apply glue to it and glue that down. Got mine down. Let's try the latch. And it should latch. Let's open this up. In your Ciao paper pack, you should have this, and on the back it's this. Turn it, measure over 5 5/8 inch and cut. Now measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. Apply glue to this side, and we'll glue that down. Got mine down. Let's just close that right on up. In your Ciao paper pack, you will have this print. And on the other side, it is this. So we're just going to turn it over, looking at it like this. Measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. Let's turn that. Measure over 7 5/8 inch and cut. Apply glue and glue that down. Next step. I don't have any more magnets, but if you have extras, you can use it. So all I'm going to do on this is, here is my folder. It's going to go right in the middle there. On the back, I'm only going to go about 1/4 of the way up because I want to be able to slide something back behind if I wanted to. And I'm going to center that. And then inside I can put solid colored cardstock or whatever I need to do. Okay, page 12 is complete. Flip it over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame. 1 down the middle and 2 on either side. And we're going to mount this in our book together. I have the score tape backing off from the back. And here is our album. And remember, after we place this, we're going to reinforce these hinges. So here is the back piece. And remember, we are going to make sure we are away from that hinge. And we're going to try to line it up with this one. But I think right about there. Okay, so it is down. So I'm going to flip this up, grab my tool, and make sure that I burnish this down really good. And you'll want to definitely take your tool around the edge down there and here. Make sure it's all ironed out for you. Okay, perfect. All right, let's move back to the first page and let's start cutting for our reinforcements. In your reserves, you should have this piece. So I was trying to decide whether I want the blue going in between each one of these, and I think I do. So you have this. It's 12 inches long. Measure over 8 7/8 inch and cut. Hang on to this piece. What we're going to do on this is we're going to be measuring over 3/8 inch and cut, measuring over again 3/8 inch cut, until we have 6 pieces that are 3/8 inch wide by our height of 8 7/8. So let's do that. I have all 6 of mine cut. So what we're going to do is place this, and we were going to be placing this on the hinge there, and we will center that top to bottom, so you will have black up here and down here. You just want to make sure that you keep it even. And you can use glue for this. Just make sure you burnish it down really good. I have got mine done. Let's go to the next page. We're going to keep doing this throughout until we are done. Now when you place this one, line it up with the top of this one, and you'll go right in between the hinge there and glue that down. I have all of mine down, and you have to make sure that you get up any glue that seeps out the sides. I like using my tool, either the tip or whatever, to clean it up. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do once we have that down is to reinforce these. So first thing we're going to do, measure over 2 7/8 inch and cut. Now, because some of us may have positioned our books maybe a little higher than someone else, this is where we're going to place this down. This should fit side to side. Now match up from your side of your blue to the side of your blue down here. And 2 7/8 was just to get us started, so make a pencil mark and trim off anything that you need in order to fit. Okay, so down here, this will fit from side to side over my blue without going on my hinges. Now this is the part where I'm going to place that up there without interfering with these pages to turn. So I'll place that up there. Now it's a small little cut. I am going to make a mark just above the bottom of my chipboard spine. And now I can cut, and then I'll verify that that's going to work there. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here. And that will be good. Okay, now for this part, I'm just going to put that up against there and measure and trim that sliver. Okay. It's time to get our drits attached, and we will be finished with this album. Let's install the final piece to our album, which is the hook part of our drits that clips here to hold the album shut. So what I've done is I cut about a 13.5 inch strip of ribbon. And now one thing about this before I start getting into this is that, remember, we still have your picture mats to put in there. And again, we don't do the picture mats together. I kind of showed you some things to do in the album. But so we're not going to do this real tight because we have to make sure that we have enough room for our added pictures. So here is the hook, and I'm just going to thread this ribbon up and down the other side, and I will pull it even. Now I did this a little bit longer so that I can have some tails on the back side and cut it if I wanted. So once I have it like this, what I'm going to do is hook that on. I'm going to set this up. Now again, don't cinch it, just let it go loose, because you want to be able to have room to place your photos. And it's always best to do the drits after you've got your picture mats in here, but you can do it before. So all I'm doing is I'm pulling it to the back side like so, and this will still give me plenty of room in there. Okay, So once I have it where I think I want it, that's where we're going to glue. And I like using hot glue because it's quick tacking. I've got my hot glue here. And just be very careful. I use a low temp so I don't burn myself, but I'm just going to get it right underneath there. Now you can double these over, do whatever you want. I'm going to clip off the excess. And what I did was in the Ciao Bella extras on the cutout sheet, there's one of these, and I backed it with black. And that's just going to place right over here. And I'm going to use some hot glue to speed up the process. And I'll place it over. There. And that's all there is to it. Our album is now officially complete. It came out good, it's sturdy, it's large, and it is ready to fill with photo mats and photos. Happy crafting, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you on my next one.